Welcome to Base to Base Military Homeschooling, the podcast sponsored by Military Homeschoolers Association. It is designed specifically for military homeschoolers navigating the unique challenges of educating our children while moving to new communities every 2 to 3 years. I'm your host, Natalie Mack, and I know firsthand the challenges and rewards of homeschooling while on the move. So where in the large world of military homeschooling are we today? Listen in to our incredible guests. Hello, homeschoolers. This is Natalie Mack with Base to Base Military Homeschooling. We are here with another exciting guest, bringing all the details to you, all the resources. No pressure, Allyson. No, but we're going to do our best to explore her location, her duty station, and maybe squirrel a little bit into some other areas. This lady is a wealth of information. So we've already decided that we will have her on again for sure, 2, maybe 3 times. We'll see, might be more. But I'm really excited about having her here. One of the reasons I'm most excited is that we share the same locale, right? We share the same locale. Matter of fact, we have served on the same base and the same group of military homeschoolers. And so she represents an amazing organization. I'm not going to go into detail. I'm going to go ahead and let her get started. And I will turn it over to you, ma'am. Go ahead. Introduce yourself, let everyone know who you are. Where you are. They see some of it on your name there, but go ahead and give us some information about you.
Sure. My name's Allyson Beverly, and my husband and I are currently stationed here at Fort Belvoir.
Yeah, no worries.
And,
classic. Yeah. We're always moving.
I know. Can't keep track of where I am.
I love it. That could not have been more perfect.
Oh, yeah. So here at Fort Belvoir, this will be our 3rd year, or this will come up on beginning our 3rd year in August here. And I currently am serving as the co-director of the military homeschooling group on base, Belvoir Area Christian Homeschoolers, which is the only faith-based Christian homeschooling organization here on base that is actually chapel sponsored. So we have a great community and a great relationship with the chaplains on base, and we're really enjoying beginning our next school semester, which will kick off in August. So
that is super exciting. I love it. So you've already dropped a few nuggets that I hadn't even remember to cover. So we're going to have to cover that because, and one of them is you mentioned about the great relationship you have with the base chaplains. And so you and I both can talk a little bit about that. That might even need to be another guest. But in any case, like I told you all, there's a lot that we're going to be discussing. But I'm super excited to have you here. And in the faith-based piece, I am a Christian, and so I do appreciate that you all have felt the need to start that group here at Fort Belvoir. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. I recognize not everyone is, even our audience, and so Military Homeschoolers Association supports and recognizes and respects everyone, faith-based or not. But for those who are looking for that faith-based option, I'm glad it's there. So, okay, let's see. What do we want to talk about next? Did you mention how many kids you have and how long you've been in the military? And if you want to share a little bit about your duty assignment and, all of that, you can.
Sure. I have 6 children. My oldest is 13 and my youngest is 5. And we have been homeschooling for 7 years. My husband has been in the military for 14 years now. And I've been with him all 14 years. So we've had 8 different duty stations in that time, and international and all over this country. We've had a wild ride for sure, but it's been fantastic. I wouldn't want to change it. So
that is so good to hear. Military life is, I always say, it's not for the weak. It has its fair share of challenges, definitely. And I always affirm that because I always remember there's spouses out there who are really struggling, who are saying, okay, why are you so happy about military life? Like, I'm struggling over here, right? And so I recognize that. And I know it's not easy. And you hear so much about us being very resilient. And sometimes we just maybe don't feel so resilient.
Yeah.
And so, but I want to affirm those who are struggling that you can get through this, you can do this life. And make sure you plug in to support. And if you're a military homeschooler and you're struggling because the life is challenging, it's not always, oh, great, we're stationed like we were in Italy and we get to see the world. Sometimes it's just really hard. And so, it's really important to get connected. And so we're talking about here on this podcast, one of the focuses is connections, community, resources, as you move around serving, right? And so you said your husband has been in the military. How many years, Allyson?
14.
14. And you and your family, right, have
Yeah.
served. And so I always affirm family serve. We don't put on the uniform unless you're a dual active, dual military. But we serve. And so I shout you out, and I think it's great, everything that you have said. So what's your main reason that you all felt called to homeschooling? Tell us a little bit about that start. What called you to homeschooling? Because you've been homeschooling all of your kids from, in their
Yeah, sure. My husband was actually homeschooled all the way through. So he was the OG before it was cool homeschool kid.
Yeah.
That was never on my radar, as I'm sure a lot of people can relate. I never thought I would be doing this. I grew up in public school. It served me just fine. I had a great experience, nothing negative. And then I actually served as a school nurse. I'm a registered nurse. And so my first job out of college was a school nurse. And getting in there and reading some of the files of kids and seeing kind of stuff that was going on in the public school system, it made me pause and think, maybe my fiance has a decent idea of wanting to do this homeschool thing. But I definitely just felt extremely underqualified. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. Like, how am I qualified to teach these kids?
Yeah.
So it took a lot of prayer and a full 5 years before my oldest was starting first grade, before I finally was like, okay, maybe I'll try it. And then after that, it took 3 years of homeschooling using a bunch of different philosophies and techniques until we really found what worked for us. And now we've been sticking with the same thing. This will be our 5th year with the same curriculum. And once we found our groove, it seemed to work a lot better. But so any of y'all that are having trouble feeling confident enough to homeschool, I was there. But it is possible. You can search around, find what works for you, and hopefully be as blessed by it as we have been since.
Yeah, definitely. And so I love that you mentioned that, is that it doesn't always sync immediately, right? It may be kind of bumpy as you figure out what works for your family. And I always tell families, you can get recommendations, you can consult, you can find out what works for other people, but be confident that when you find what works for you, it's okay, right?
Yeah.
And it's maybe vastly different than your homeschool best friend, right? That's totally okay. So I love that. I had a question. Oh, so you mentioned you found a curriculum that you really that you like, that's working for you all. What's the curriculum that you're using?
It's called A Gentle Feast, and it's a Charlotte Mason-based curriculum.
Yes.
And actually, the way we found out we were going to be stationed overseas at an embassy, and we were going to be traveling almost exclusively for 6 months all over Latin America for a niche military job of a foreign area officer. That's what my husband does.
Right.
So I needed something that could travel, something I could take on the road. We ended up going to 13 countries in 6 months. And so that school had to be portable. And I stumbled upon A Gentle Feast per recommendation of my sister-in-law, who also homeschools. Okay. And it was just very easy to take with me. I was able to do group lessons over multiple ages of kids instead of having to spend time with each child individually to get through every single subject. And we came back to the States. We've been stable for 2 years now, but it's still really working well for us. So we're definitely sticking with it.
Yeah, you're definitely gonna stick with it. And once you find something, it makes sense to stick with it.
Oh yeah,
And that still takes discipline, I would say, because there's so much curriculum out there for us
for
as
sure.
homeschoolers, right? And you talk to friends and they're like, oh, I really love this one, and I'm using Tapestry of Grace, and I'm using, master books and all, and you're like, oh,
It's like, don't
but
look, don't look.
right. Yeah,
Don't look.
definitely. Yeah, you just don't look. You just kind of
Yeah,
keep your blinders on and keep going straight ahead, right?
yeah.
I tell you, the struggle is real.
It
That's
is.
why homeschoolers have so much curriculum and we have our own libraries, right?
Oh yeah, for
Full
sure.
of books and everything. So, oh gosh. So prior to here in Virginia, we're going to talk a little bit about life on Belvoir and homeschooling in the area and all. But prior to coming here, where were you all?
We were at the U.S. Embassy in El Salvador.
Okay. Awesome. So I asked that question. I already knew what her husband's job,
Yeah,
what family, what their I say her husband's job, but what they do as a family, why they move around a lot overseas.
yeah,
But I mentioned that because remember I said we have some more guesting opportunities for Allyson. So just so you know, we're going to talk at another episode, hopefully, about the life of a foreign area officer. And hopefully that will also help with our Department of State families. We're going to talk a little bit about the NDSP. And you might say, what's that? You can look it up or you can wait for the episode, right? But yeah, let's talk about Fort Belvoir. Gosh, there's so many things to say. I know in Belvoir, when we lived there, we have moved off. We've been off 5 years, right near base. But we lived on for 4.5 years. And I thought it was an amazing base to be on. The number of families who homeschool, our kids were loved it. In our neighborhood, they were outside all the time, and even those who didn't homeschool, everybody kind of got along, and it just was this big kind of like they just loved it, and they were outside so much. And I know that's really hard a lot of times for civilian families to imagine what it's like living on an installation and kids having that real childhood that you kind of like think about and maybe don't see it anymore. So how's it been for you transitioning from overseas to Belvoir, and what's life like for you there?
we love Fort Belvoir. We say it's like Mayberry, like a
Yeah.
1950s. Kids are everywhere. They're playing baseball in the side yards. They're riding their bikes all over the place, and there's always someone wanting to play.
Yeah.
Our village on Fort Belvoir is Fairfax Village, and I would say probably 70% at least of the families in this neighborhood homeschool. So there's a great community. Before we were here, we had zero community at all, and at overseas, and then because there was no other military presence even, so there was really no homeschooling support.
Wow. Yeah.
But before that, in the other bases we homeschooled at, there just wasn't the wealth of activities there are here. So I'm a compulsive planner, as I'm sure many can relate to. You find out where you're going to go and you're just researching everything, joining all the Facebook groups, trying to get all the information.
Right.
And when we were moving here, I did the same thing. And I would see a homeschooling activity, but oh, got to sign up for that. There's actually something for homeschoolers. Then I'd find another one. Oh, I got to sign up for that. And I realized you can't sign up for all of it. There's so many things for homeschoolers here that you can choose very specific interests and find a homeschooling class for that in this area. So it is a fantastic place to homeschool. And I am so thankful we're going to be landing here for multiple years so that we can take full advantage of all of that.
Yes, definitely. I hear that all the time. And that was our experience. And we were in Fairfax Village as well.
Okay.
And just, amazing. So we are going to go ahead and segue a little bit. There's so many questions I can ask. And I know if you're watching later, which I hope that you are, you probably have questions. So I don't always remember to say, put some questions in the comments of this episode so we can go back and answer them as best that we can, because we really want to take the information, the resources, the conversation, and make sure that it's getting out to our military homeschool community, because someone is asking for questions about Fort Belvoir. And if it's you or not you, if it's not you, then share it into your community, into your group. Somebody's got orders to Fort Belvoir for sure. So yeah, and so there's and we're going to talk about overseas life, like I said, in another episode. And we're going to have so many other guests from other parts of the world that have been assigned, from Germany to Italy to Spain and Guam. So tune in. If you are someone who says, hey, I have some information I want to share, and I've lived here or on this base or wherever, then definitely reach out to us at base the number 2 base at militaryhomeschoolers.org. So want to put that plug in there as well. Let's see here. There's a couple of things. Do you have any children that actually maybe have utilized like the EFMP program, or have any special needs that you've been able to get the resources in the area for?
We do not have any EFMP kids at all. So can't speak to that.
Okay. Yeah. I always ask the questions because sometimes somebody's saying, oh, wish you would have asked about this and everything. And I know you have a high schooler. I think I heard like a 15.
She's actually in 8th grade this year. So not quite there.
Not quite there.
But yeah, we have in our Belvoir Area Christian Homeschooling group, it's for all teens, and we actually start with mature 12-year-olds and up. So
nice.
We got a lot of high schoolers in that too, but
yeah. So she's getting close. Yeah, she's getting close for sure, definitely. So let's talk about what I want to call BACH.
Yes, that's what we call ourselves.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Belvoir Area Christian Homeschoolers. And like you have on your name there, your co-director. And so tell us about BACH. I mean, I know you mentioned a little bit in your intro, but tell us about BACH, what you offer and how it got started. I think I know the founder pretty well, yes. But go ahead and put it all out for us.
Okay, so this will be BACH's 3rd year. So it was founded 2 years ago. I am not a founder, but I was in that program the very first year it ran, just as a participant with my kids. Yeah. And what really stood out to me about it was it is extremely low key. A lot of the other official co-ops, we do not actually call ourselves a co-op. We just call ourselves a community. Mm-hmm. So we do not have any fees associated. We do not have extensive volunteer requirements. Mm-hmm. And we offer mainly extracurricular or special interest clubs instead of academics. So our goal is to just create a faith-based community where we can support parents in their calling to homeschool and create an environment where the kids are really practicing their Christian faith. We're a non-denominational group, Bible-believing Christians. So if anybody wants to join us, we have plenty of space. Our registration will be August 12th, and you can find our group on Facebook under Belvoir Area Christian Homeschoolers and message us there, and we'd be happy to get information out. So
awesome. So we're going to make sure that we get those details and emails and all the things, Facebook group, and we'll make sure we link that into the show notes so that anyone that has questions wants to reach out and contact you. I haven't been in the military homeschool space for the length of time I have been, and I've been in leadership in groups pretty much all over the world. It feels like I'm one of those ones I can support. What do you need help with? Yeah. And eventually you end up being the leader, right?
Yeah, that's kind of how it ended up. So
yeah, and that's the story I hear from a lot of leaders. It's like we didn't PCS to the space for me to step into leadership, but here I am. And so having said that, I've often been a little kind of cautious about a base having several different groups, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I recognize also that groups serve specific needs, right? Mm-hmm. And that families have. And so when you all got started, I thought, wow, this is really good. And I was really excited to see it. Now, I will say I was on the other side with the Fort Belvoir Home Educators. And so we are a secular group. There's lots of Christians in the group, but it's a secular group. And we are more formal in structure with co-ops and field trip and things like that. But, having you all there, I think has been an amazing blessing for families. And I'm always kind of making sure when I'm talking about Belvoir, publicly on any type of um, like webinar, I try to remember to bring and say, okay, let's let everyone know the diversity of resources available. So I think that's amazing, and I love it. I love it.
I also think it's important to note we have a lot of members that do both.
Yes,
BACH,
exactly.
so it's not picking one or the other. People are
Right.
welcome to take what they want from both. So
Exactly. And I think that's great. There is a group I was helping and kind of mentoring another mom who again was like, hey, I want a Christian, homeschool group. And she was trying to figure out how to get it started down at Fort Bragg. Well, it became Fort Liberty. I think it's Fort Bragg now, but everyone knows Fort Bragg. So I was kind of just talking to her a little bit, and she was asking questions, and so you mentioned about the partnership that you all have with the Garrison chaplains, and I know Fort Belvoir Home Educators, we have a great relationship. When I say we, I'm no longer leading the group, but they have a great relationship. But this mom at Fort Bragg was like really a little bit concerned, like how do I tap into that type of relationship and get the support. Eventually she did, and they have a group that has gotten started at Fort Bragg. Hopefully I'll have Donna on as a guest. But yeah, what has that been like, the relationship there? And you said that you are a chapel like ministry basically, right? Yeah.
So yes, don't receive funding from the chaplains at all, but we work very closely with their organizations. A lot of our families go to chapel on post. A lot of our families are involved in the chapel programs like Family Night and PWOC. And so we try to just kind of tie everything together and help promote their activities, and they help promote our activities. And it's been a great experience, and we're always looking for ways to get even more involved. I think it's really important for all faith-based ministries to kind of support each other. And so that's what we're trying to do. So.
That is really good. So if you are our audience is military homeschoolers, but we have other people that listen. So I paused for a moment because I was going to say, if you are a military homeschooler, which most of you all listening will be, and you're considering starting a group and you want to know a little bit more about what that looks like to get in partnership and in relationship with your Garrison chaplain, and you can reach out to Allyson and her co-director. Even maybe the founder is still probably available to answer a little bit of those questions in terms of the foundation of it. You can reach out to me, or even the group that the group that is leading Fort Belvoir Home Educators now. And again, like I said, maybe I can get Donna from down at Fort Bragg to pop on. If you are a leader of a group that is faith-based and you have established a good relationship, then reach out to me too. I'd love to feature you, because this is a question I've had asked commonly, is like, how do we get these relationships started on the installation, these partnerships where we would love to be able to have access to maybe a place to meet for a co-op or some type of homeschool activity. And so it's really been great, hasn't it, for you all to be able to utilize the space, and the families, I'm sure, appreciate it too as well, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, definitely. So that's something that we want to continue to discuss here. Many of you all probably know that the SecDef did put out a memo about a month ago now, requesting the DOD to look into how they are, advocating, resourcing the military families who choose to homeschool. And so this is one of the ways that I have always recommended, is to get connected. Now, what I want to say is, and we are thankful. When I say we, I'm not, again, in leadership at Fort Belvoir Home Educators, but when I was the one that got it started for us to use the Religious Ed Center. And so speaking from that, I can say that we, as I mentioned, are not a chapel ministry, but we have been really thankful for Fort Belvoir Chapel to allow us Fort Belvoir home educators to utilize it. So what does that mean? You don't have to necessarily be faith-based to be able to ask for use of a space or a facility that's under the Garrison Chapel's office. So it's been great opportunity. Now, let me ask you too, like we talked about, this area, there's so many resources.
Yes, there are.
And we know that, like you have been stationed where you were prior, where there wasn't anyone else military, and it was you all. And so we know that we get stationed in remote places, maybe assignments similar to that when you had in El Salvador, or maybe you're in a smaller installation where, there's other homeschoolers, but it's not a lot going on, right? And so, but here in Northern Virginia, where Fort Belvoir is, in case someone's saying, well, where's Fort Belvoir? It's in Northern Virginia, Fairfax County to be exact. There's a lot. So have you all kind of gotten involved in anything additional off post, whether it's a co-op or any type of extracurricular activities or anything that you want to shout out you've had success with?
Yeah, so we are part of a Christian homeschool soccer league that's in the area. And it is basically regular soccer. They have U6 through U17 teams, and we meet on Wednesdays during the day, and you either have a practice or a game depending on the week. And all your kids get to go to practice at the same time in the same place, and it makes it a lot easier for big families. And people that want to keep their Saturdays free from soccer practices and games in the morning. So that one's been fantastic. Nice. We also participate in a homeschool ballet program through Virginia Ballet Company.
Awesome.
Which has been fantastic for my daughter, but they have a variety of different homeschool dance classes that take place on Monday and Thursday afternoons, including a musical theater dancing class, performance class, and they have ballet and tap and lyrical and all those things. And it's a great community over there too. So we've really enjoyed that.
Oh, that's great. That's great. I had never even heard of the Virginia Ballet. I mean, I've heard of it, but I didn't know there was something local. Yeah. So that's awesome. I hear often about Metropolitan, and we participated a little bit with Metropolitan with our youngest son, who just graduated high school, y'all. Many years ago, he took some theater classes through Metropolitan. So that's a great resource that you just put out, Virginia Ballet. So we'll have to get the information to make sure we put that in too. Yeah. And I want to segue a little bit as we begin to kind of come to a close here. And then give you a chance to share anything that you would love to share as well. Have you had any interaction with your school liaison officer at all?
I have not. No, okay. I'm not done.
Okay, no worries at all. We have, I always mention them because I do a lot of work training and resourcing them and helping them get connected. And so they often want to know, like, how many families are homeschooling on the installation, right? Just so that they can kind of support the command with those numbers. And I know it's a little bit hard because every family hasn't had contact with the school liaison, which is totally okay. So I wasn't sure. What are your thoughts about in terms of this military life and being and this idea of retention that we hear sometimes talking, what in terms of being able to homeschool, how does that factor in at all for you?
I think that increases retention, homeschooling, because you're not disrupting your child's education every time you move, while we still are moving at more frequent rates than most of us would probably like to. We can at least be consistent with and know our kids are still making the progress they need to make consistently with their schooling versus getting pulled out and having to relearn something or being pulled to another school where they haven't learned the material everyone else is learning yet. So I think it's very helpful in retention.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah. That's my thoughts too. But I always like to ask families just to see, because it is the constant mobility can be difficult on our kids. And so, keeping that consistency is good. It's a good thing. So, yeah. And so I really have enjoyed talking to you. Did you have anything that we should have delved into that I left out? We have so many questions we could cover. I want to make it like succinct so families feel like, okay, I got just the right amount, the bite-sized amount to take and
bite-sized
run.
amount.
Yeah.
I would add one more thing.
Sure, please
Just
do.
how rich in history this area is.
Yeah.
So it's been great for us to do mini trips or field trips to see some of the founding sites of our nation. And we've really enjoyed that. So for sure, if you can take great advantage of traveling while you're up here to see a lot of important things and really help solidify the ideas of history into our kids by giving them some real life hands-on activities. So
exactly, this area is phenomenal, and Belvoir is like right down the street from Mount Vernon, you all. So and down the street from Gunston Hall, right? So all these places, it's an amazing area. And of course, we know Washington, D.C., so many free activities and all. So it's really a great place to homeschool. We have loved it. And so I'm going to miss that part. Now finish the 5 to finish.
Also most of those sites have homeschool days where they give very discounted rates and add a lot of cool activities for kids at a lot of these historical sites.
So, exactly. I think Mount Vernon reached out and they're going to we got to get them scheduled, but they love to pop on a podcast and share. Nice. So so if you are listening to this and, you're not a homeschooler yourself, but you have a, program, an organization that you would love to get in front of the military homeschool community, reach out to us. We do that. So we do make sure that the organization is giving, right, more than taking, because we are a special community of military homeschoolers. And I'm particular about who we put in front of you all, but I know there's resources that I would love for them to be able to come on and share. So this will be good. So I'm excited whenever we get them on as well. So this has been great. You mentioned the final little tidbit I'm going to wave a little carrot in front of people is you mentioned about travel. So you and I talked. We are going to also come on and do, you want to say a little bit about?
Sure, do a little webinar podcast about travel schooling. So that's something that our family is really passionate about. We've taken all 6 kids to 30 countries and about 27 states and just learned everywhere we've gone. So I would love to come on and talk about that for sure.
That's amazing. You all here. So see, I told you at the beginning, like there's several topics, and we'll have Allyson back on definitely really soon. So I appreciate you so much, Allyson. This has been really, really great. I appreciate everyone listening. Again, make sure that you are subscribing to the Military Homeschoolers Association YouTube channel. That's where this podcast lives. Click that notification bell so you know. Make sure you're liking and following us on Facebook and Instagram, Military Homeschoolers Association. And if you're not in our group, BACE, the number 2, BACE, Military Homeschooling, our Facebook group, definitely you need to get into that group as well. And so I appreciate everybody. And this has been a great episode. And so we will see you next time. Thank you so much, Allyson. Appreciate it.
That's great. Thank you.
All right.